friends, today we're kicking off Duping through the holidays, and I will explain more about what this is in a little bit, so let's jump right into the first dupe. This week is all about Etsy, and I found this beautiful macrame wreath from the seller Rusty Orchid. I will link all of the shops I duped today down in my description box, but I picked up this single twist 3mm macrame cord from Hobby Lobby for $6.99 in the color Fern, only because they were sold out of white, and I actually really love how this color turned out. So I cut 66 pieces at 30 inches each. Next, I picked up these 3 packs of wreath rings from the Dollar Tree. I grabbed several of these because I only ever see them at Christmas time, but I'm only using the middle size, which is 8 inches, and going to add all 66 macrame cords using a lark's head knot. This is a basic macrame knot to get you started with almost any project. Take a strand and fold it in half. Take the middle of the cord and place it under the wreath ring. Take the ends of the strand over top of the ring and down through the loop, and pull that tight. Once all 66 pieces are added to the wreath ring, now we can start the fun part. So take a group of 6 knots and section those off. And then take the center 2 knots, so you have 4 cords. Now we're going to make a diagonal double half hitch knot. There are 2 knots we're going to use on this piece, and this is the main one. Next, take 2 cords, and the outermost cord on the right is going to be your guide or your stationary cord. This is going to create the diagonal. So you pull that cord towards the left, and then take the cord next to it to create the knot. The way I think of this is really simple. So you create a U and pull it through, and you do this 2 times. Keep your stationary cord pulled toward the left and take that working cord, make a U over top of the stationary cord, wrap it around and pull the end through the U, then pull that tight. Then do the same thing on the next 2 cords. This time your stationary cord will go toward the right, then make a U and pull it through. Now we need to connect the 2 sections. You can go in either direction, either keep going to the right or go to the left, but whichever way you go, make sure you do the same all the way around the wreath. And this is going to create a little triangle. Next, we're going to repeat this process 2 more times for the remaining cords out of the 6 that we had pulled out to start with. So you'll end up with 3 rows forming a slightly bigger triangle each time. And then repeat this around the entire wreath. So you'll end up with 11 triangle sections. Next, I want to add the little berries like the inspiration had. I'm going to use white cord for this instead of red, but you could use any colors you choose. This is 2mm cord, and I cut it down to 30 inches. You're going to need 11 pieces just like this. Now you're going to take 2 cords in the center where 2 triangle edges meet. This is where we will attach the white cord. This time we're making a square knot, and to do that, you place the middle of the white cord under the 2 green cords. Then make a 4 with the left strand over top of the green ones. Pull the right white cord on top of the straight portion of the 4, and then take the end of the right cord behind the green cords and up through the center of the 4, and then pull that tight. Now the white cord is attached and you want to slide it up as far as you can towards the wreath ring. That was only half of the square knot, so now you want to do the same thing starting on the right, creating a backwards 4, and then pull the left cord on top of the straight section of the backwards 4. Then take the end of the left cord behind the green cords, up through the center of the backwards 4, and pull that tight. Then repeat this 5 more times to make 6 square knots in total. There will naturally be some gaps between your knots, so once you make all 6, push the last knot up so the whole thing squishes together. Now to make this look like a berry, you want to flip it up, and there's a little hole at the top right between the 2 triangles, and push all 4 cords down through that hole. Next, we're going to create a few more square knots. So take the 2 green cords that we just used for the berry, and then 1 from each side, so you have 4 green cords. You also want to hold the white cords in the center with the 2 green cords so you can conceal them. So create a square knot just like we did before, but push the first knot up as high as you can, right up against that berry to hold it in place. And once you finish the square knot, cut the ends of the white cords. Now take the 2 right cords from the square knot we just made and 2 more to the right of it to make another square knot. And then do the same thing on the left side. Next, we want to join the 2 together and create 1 more square knot with the 4 center cords. So you'll end up having a little diamond shape of 4 square knots. Then we need to create 2 more rows of the diagonal double half hitch knot to complete this section. So you want to start with the second cord in from the left to start this first row, and then the same with the one to the right. Start with the second cord in from the right, and use the 2 outside cords to create the second row. That completes the section, and you want to repeat this all the way around the wreath. Next, I want to cut down all of the cords. I used the shortest piece I could find as a starting point and cut down the rest of the cords to be roughly the same. This doesn't need to be exact at this point. And then I combed out the twist to make it more fluffy. And now to clean up the edges and give the wreath its shape, I used my roller and rotary blade to make the cords all the same length. You could also use scissors. I just found this method to work really easy, and it was super precise and took up less time. This next project is inspired by the seller Woodland Edges. I love the look of this paper tree and knew it would be really easy to recreate. And for much less than $42 or the $70 if you go off the original price. Buying the paper was the most expensive part. I got these from Hobby Lobby at 69 cents each for the music note sheets and 59 cents for the solid. Unfortunately, I did not go on a 40% off day, so you could get this for even less. Then I went into my Cricut design space, but don't worry if you don't have a Cricut. I have an option for you too that will look exactly the same, so stick with me for just a minute. In design space, I went into images and searched for a scalloped square. This orange one is the one I selected and added it to my project, but I only want the outline of it, so I deleted all the other layers. Then resized the square to start at 6.5 inches. I made 3 of each size square, going down 1/2 inch at a time, all the way down to 1.5 inches. And for the solid paper, I cut out 2 squares of each size. Now, if you don't have a Cricut, don't worry. Find a pair of these fun shaped scissors and use those to cut your squares out. You'll get the exact same look, or if you don't have these scissors, use regular scissors and just cut a wavy line. For the tree stand, I found these decorative plastic bowls at Dollar Tree, and the shape and detail is perfect. I used 2 bowls and glued them together using my E6000 and hot glue for an immediate hold, and apparently I didn't record the E6000, but it's there. Then I also need some beads and a skewer stick to build the tree, so I spray painted all 3 pieces antique bronze. I planned on making 2 trees, so you'll see 2 sets here, but I ran out of time and only ended up making 1. Next, I attached the skewer to the bottom of the bowl using my super glue, and then added a big dollop of hot glue. But looking back, I probably should have added some floral foam to the bottom and then glued the skewer into that foam. You won't see it, so I would suggest that instead for more stability. Now you just need to add the paper. I used my roller to find the center of the paper and then poked a hole through the center and added it onto the skewer. I followed a pattern since I cut out 3 of the music notes and 2 solid for each size. So I added 1 music note, 1 solid, 1 music, and then a bead. Then 1 solid, 1 music, and a bead. And I followed that pattern all the way up the tree. I made a pretty darn good educated guess because this was the perfect amount of paper and beads to fill up the skewer. Once I got to the top of the tree, I glued a slightly larger bead on the very top and then filled the center of the bead with hot glue and painted over it with my spray paint to match. Last, I added a little bit of dark wax to the base to bring out the details a little bit more. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, all month long, my friend Brandy at the DIY Struggle has a series called Duping Through the Holidays. There will be a different retailer to dupe and a different set of creators each week, along with a playlist with everyone's videos. In addition to all of the inspiration you're gonna get this month, there's also a giveaway where you have the chance to win a $60 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is answer each creator's giveaway question in the comments, and the winner will be selected on December 1st. Good luck, and let's get back to the dupes. This next project was half inspired by Etsy and half inspired by Pinterest. I found these clay ornaments on Etsy and then found a DIY air dry clay recipe on Pinterest and wanted to give that a try. So we're heading into the kitchen, and to make this homemade air dry clay, you'll need 1.5 cups of water, 1 cup of cornstarch, and 2 cups of baking soda. Dump all of your ingredients into a pot on medium heat and stir it continuously until it sticks together. Now, I don't think I cooked this for long enough, and I'll show you why in just a minute, but the video I watched said to cook it until it looked like mashed potatoes, and I didn't want to overcook it. Then you want to take it out of the pot and let it cool down. I also put a damp paper towel over top to prevent it from drying out while cooling. Okay, so once it was cooled down, I took a piece of the clay to start rolling it out and working with it. It was really mushy and really sticky. I could also feel lumps in the dough. I'm not really sure what that was because all the powder was dissolved in the water. I think some pieces were cooked long enough while the majority of this clay was not. But anyways, I really struggled trying to roll it out, but then I decided to try getting an imprint of the pine branch similar to my inspiration. The clay mushed right into the pine branch and was stuck all through it. So that was an epic fail. Then I tried a star cutout. That didn't work either. The clay was just sticking to the metal and then distorted the shape of my star. So I decided to let the clay dry out for about half of a day to get some of that extra moisture out of it and see if that would help. But in the meantime, I looked up another DIY clay recipe and found this salt dough. This recipe is even easier and requires no cooking. You need 3/4 cup of water, 3/4 cup of salt, and 2 cups of flour, and then mix it together until you have a dough. Already, I like this dough so much better. It has a more gritty consistency since the salt doesn't exactly dissolve in the water, but I don't mind that. I was able to roll it out and cut out my star easily. I used the end of a paintbrush to add the hole for the string. And I was also able to add the pine branch imprint with no problem this time. A tiny bit of the dough did stick to the branch, but that's not a big deal, and I set those aside to dry. A few days later, I came back to the first dough. I did put it in the refrigerator after letting it dry out for several hours, and the consistency was much better now, but the dough was a little crumbly. It was soft to the touch, but was falling apart easily. I tried a larger shape to see how that would do, and it worked a little bit better, so I set these aside to dry as well. My mystery question is, have you ever tried to make this baking soda clay before, and how did it turn out? I am so curious to know. Then once the ornaments were dry, I added this baker's twine to them. I would not recommend the clay that needs to be cooked, you guys. Here you can see there are cracks in the clay once they dried. The salt dough held up much better, but it also has an off-white color and a lot of texture. I don't mind the texture, and you can also paint this clay, but I much prefer my store-bought air dry clay or even polymer clay to make something like this. Here you can see a few similar projects I made last year using my air dry clay and oven baked clay. They are so much smoother. I will link these videos in my description box as well. Now, don't forget to leave a comment answering my mystery question down in the comment section. Also, check out the playlist of all of the other creators for more Etsy dupes, and I'll see you next week.